When Pattie Boyd opened this urgent letter in 1970, she thought it was a mistake from a delusional fan. She had no idea she was holding a secret that would cost millions of dollars and ignite the most infamous love triangle in rock history. Today, that mistake is finally being revealed. Imagine sitting in the kitchen of a sprawling neo-Gothic mansion, opening your daily mail, and reading a desperate, beautifully penned plea of forbidden love, entirely unaware that the author is sitting right in your inner circle. It is a moment of profound irony that recently sent shockwaves through the elite world of art and memorabilia, culminating in a jaw-dropping multi-million-dollar auction at Christie's in the spring of 2024. But the actual story behind that astronomical auction is much darker, much more obsessive, and infinitely more fascinating than any price tag could ever convey. To truly understand the intense gravity of this letter, we have to rewind to a time when rock gods walked the earth like untouchable royalty. The year is 1970. Pattie Boyd is not just a highly successful fashion model, she is the undisputed ultimate muse of the 20th century. She is the woman whose mere presence inspired the Beatles' masterpiece song Something, a track Frank Sinatra famously called the greatest love song ever written. She is married to the lead guitarist of the biggest band in the entire world, George Harrison. Together, they live at Friar Park, a staggeringly beautiful, vaguely haunting estate in Oxfordshire. But beneath the glittering surface of immense wealth and global fame, the fairy tale is rotting from the inside out. The Beatles are in the agonizing throes of a messy, deeply chaotic breakup. George is emotionally withdrawn, seeking intense spiritual enlightenment while simultaneously engaging in numerous painful infidelities. The atmosphere at home is strained, heavy with unspoken resentments and the suffocating pressure of Beatlemania. And lurking just on the periphery of this crumbling marriage is George's absolute best friend, guitar virtuoso Eric Clapton. Clapton is a frequent guest at Friar Park, blending into the background of their lives, playing the role of the loyal companion. But secretly, Clapton is being consumed by a quiet, devastating obsession. He is entirely captivated by Pattie. He believes she is the only woman he could ever truly love. And as the tension in the Harrison household reaches a boiling point, Clapton decides he can no longer remain silent. He makes a fateful, incredibly dangerous decision to cross the line, a decision that will echo through music history for decades to come. It begins with an envelope delivered in the autumn mail. It is clearly marked, in Clapton's impressively neat, precise handwriting, as express and urgent. Pattie Boyd, accustomed to receiving mountains of strange fan mail from obsessed Beatles devotees, slices it open. Inside is a piece of white notepaper. The letter begins with the salutation "Dearest L." The L stands for Layla, a nickname Clapton had secretly given her. This nickname was not just a random choice. It was lifted directly from the ancient 12th century Persian tale of Layla and Majnun, a classic Middle Eastern romance about a man who falls so deeply in love with a woman he cannot marry that he completely loses his mind and retreats into the wilderness. Clapton read this story and saw his own agonizing reality staring back at him. He was Majnun, the madman, and Pattie was Layla, the unattainable prize locked away in a fortress with his best friend. But at this exact moment, Pattie does not know any of this. She reads the tiny, perfectly aligned rows of words, mostly written without capital letters, which gives the note an eerie, hushed tone. The writer states that the main purpose of the note is to ascertain her feelings toward a subject well known to both of them. Then, the questions become shockingly direct. What I wish to ask you is if you still love your husband or if you have another lover. The author continues, writing, "All these questions are very impertinent, I know, but if there is still a feeling in your heart for me, you must let me know." The letter explicitly instructs her not to telephone, stating that writing back is much safer, and signs off simply with, "All my love, now, put yourself in Pattie Boyd's shoes." You read this incredibly dramatic, intensely invasive letter. What do you actually do? Because she has absolutely no context for the nickname Layla and does not connect the initial E to her husband's best friend, she naturally assumes it is the ramblings of a very weird, delusional fan. In fact, she finds it so utterly bizarre that she walks right over to her husband, George Harrison, and says, "Look at this really weird letter." They both stand there in the kitchen, reading the desperate confessions of a tortured soul, and they actually laugh. They dismiss it completely. The letter is tossed aside, written off as just another bizarre artifact of their surreal celebrity existence. The mistake is complete. But wait, stop right there. Because this is the exact moment where the story violently shifts from a simple misunderstanding to a deeply dark psychological thriller that almost destroyed two of the greatest musical minds of the 20th century. You see, the real secret isn't just that Eric Clapton wrote a misguided love letter. The real, horrifying twist is what happened when the sun went down that exact same day. If you think this is just a nostalgic story about a rock and roll crush, you are entirely wrong. We are about to look at a spiral into absolute madness, a self-imposed exile fueled by severe addiction, and an ultimatum that birthed a song so famous, you have probably heard it 1,000 times without ever realizing it is actually a desperate, dangerous ransom note. Do not look away, because the true cost of this love triangle is far more staggering than the millions of dollars it just sold for. That very evening, the phone rings at Friar Park. Pattie picks it up. It is Eric Clapton. He makes some casual small talk and then his voice drops. He asks, "Did you get my letter?" Pattie is utterly confused. "Letter? I don't think so. What letter are you talking about?" And in that split second, the penny finally drops. The chilling realization washes over her. "Was that from you?" she asks. "I had no idea you felt that way." Suddenly, the weird fan mail transforms into the most passionate, forbidden confession she has ever received. It instantly puts their entire relationship on a dangerously thrilling new footing. But Pattie, still fiercely loyal to her marriage despite George's obvious flaws, initially rejects him. She refuses to run away with him. Clapton's response to this rejection is not to simply walk away with his pride intact. Instead, he channels his immense agony into a sprawling, chaotic recording session. He invites Pattie to a flat in Kensington, sits her down, turns up the volume on a cassette player, and forces her to listen to the finished track of Layla. The blistering guitar riffs, the screaming vocals, the absolute primal wail of the chorus. It is an overwhelming sonic assault of pure, unadulterated longing. Pattie sits there terrified, thinking, "Oh God, everyone is going to know who this is." But the madness does not stop at the music. That same night, at a party hosted by their manager Robert Stigwood, Clapton walks directly up to George Harrison, looks his best friend dead in the eyes as the sun rises, and says, "I have to tell you that I am in love with your wife." When Pattie still chooses to go home with George, Clapton is completely shattered. He retreats into total seclusion at his Surrey home, plunging into a devastating 3-year heroin addiction. He practically vanishes from the public eye. But the letters do not stop. The obsession only mutates. Months later, isolated in a cottage in Wales, lacking even a proper piece of paper, Clapton tears the title page out of a copy of John Steinbeck's classic novel of Mice and Men. On this torn, jagged piece of paper, he writes a second desperate plea. "If you don't want me, please break the spell that binds me. To cage a wild animal is a sin, to tame him is divine." Let us break down exactly why these specific pieces of paper are considered the absolute holy grail of cultural artifacts today. When we analyze the sheer value of these items, which culminated in a 2024 Christie's auction that raked in nearly $3.6 million, we have to look at the mechanics of human emotion as a literal asset class. The Of Mice and Men letter alone smashed its estimates, selling for roughly $150,000. The original painting used for the Layla album cover, chosen by Clapton because the blonde model reminded him of Pattie, sold for an astonishing $2.5 million. But why? What drives a collector to pay millions for the painful debris of a broken marriage? It comes down to a concept called the monetization of vulnerability. In the modern world, we consume celebrity drama through highly polished public relations statements and carefully curated social media posts. Everything is sanitized. Everything is filtered through lawyers and publicists. But these letters represent the absolute antithesis of modern celebrity culture. They are raw, bleeding, completely unfiltered proof of human frailty. They demonstrate that no amount of fame, money, or unparalleled musical genius can protect a person from the humiliating, desperate, soul-crushing experience of unrequited love. When a buyer purchases that 1970 letter, they are not buying dried ink and yellowed paper. They are purchasing the exact historical coordinate where rock and roll mythology intersects with pure, destructive human nature. They are buying the secret that was hiding in plain sight. They are buying the very DNA of the greatest love songs ever recorded. Adrian Humesayer, the head of the sale at Christie's, noted that this collection provides an unparalleled chance to own a piece of a cultural revolution. It wasn't just old paper being sold. It was the physical residue of a cultural earthquake. We see this psychological phenomenon mirrored repeatedly in how society consumes true crime and celebrity scandals today, but rarely with such incredibly high artistic stakes. Think about how the public obsesses over the minutiae of modern celebrity breakups, dissecting song lyrics for hidden clues. When massive pop stars release albums seemingly detailing private betrayals, the entire internet grinds to a halt to decode the narrative. But the Clapton, Harrison, and Boyd triangle is the absolute granddaddy of them all. It is the original, unfiltered blueprint. There were no encrypted tweets or veiled Instagram stories. There was a man walking into a party and telling a Beatle to his face that he was stealing his wife. Eventually, the immense pressure of this dynamic became too much to bear. In 1974, unable to turn a blind eye to George's continuous and flagrant affairs, which reportedly even included Ringo Starr's wife, Pattie Boyd finally left Harrison and ran to Clapton. They married in 1979, and astonishingly, George Harrison remained deeply embedded in their lives, reportedly calling himself the husband-in-law. Clapton would go on to write another deeply iconic song, Wonderful Tonight, about simply watching Pattie get ready for a party. But like a fire that burns far too hot, the marriage to Clapton also ultimately collapsed under the unbearable weight of his severe alcoholism and further infidelities. They divorced in 1989. The ultimate muse had survived two of the most volatile, endlessly creative forces on the planet, but she walked away with her own deep scars. Today, Pattie Boyd is 80 years old. By choosing to empty her private trunks and sell these deeply intimate artifacts to the world, she is finally reclaiming her own narrative. She is no longer just the passive subject of these legendary rock anthems. She is the master curator of her own extraordinary history. She lived at the absolute epicenter of the swinging 60s, surviving a level of chaotic adoration and toxic obsession that would break almost anyone else. The Clapton Mistake, that incredibly weird, misidentified fan letter that sat on a kitchen counter in 1970, serves as a permanent, haunting reminder that the greatest art is almost always forged in the fires of unforgivable human trespassing. So, the next time you get a piece of strange, unexpected mail, look very closely at the handwriting. You never know what kind of explosive history might be hiding inside the envelope. If you found this deep dive into the hidden shadows of rock history fascinating, you absolutely must see our next breakdown, where we uncover the dark psychological warfare behind another massive pop culture scandal that the mainstream media tried to bury forever.